Well, hey everyone, Zach Tucker here, getting you ready for our Winston-Salem Fairgrounds Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week presented by West Shore Home. This week we have a Greensboro rivalry as Page travels over to Grimsley. We're joined now by Worley's head coach, Coach Brown. Coach, your team right now, you guys have an 8-0 record. Tell me a little bit about how you guys have gotten to this point this season.
I feel like we challenged ourselves with our first three non-conference games, playing Mount Tabor and Roseville out of Raleigh and Reagan, all three really quality opponents, well-coached, good football teams. So I think that was a great start for us, being able to find ways to win those games, two of them on the road. And before we headed into conference play, we've played really well the last few weeks in conference play against teams that we're somewhat familiar with and that we see every year. So I've just been really pleased with our guys, how we've prepared each week, the way they've gone about practice, and the competition that we've had at practice. I feel like it's made us a lot better. So going into this week, we've been playing pretty good.
Earlier this year, we had the privilege of having Grimsley featured as our game of the week. So we're already a little bit familiar with your team, but who would you say have been some of the guys that have stood out on the team so far this year?
Your normal guys that a lot of people know about. I mean, offensively, we've been doing some really good things, been very balanced on that side of the ball with the ability to throw and run as well. And Faison Brandon, our sophomore quarterback, has had a really good start to his varsity career here at Grimsley, and has played really well and been very efficient, and has taken care of the football, which is huge for us. And on the outside, he's got two Division I Power 5 receivers, and Terrell Anderson and Alex Taylor, and they've been doing what they've been doing the past 3 years, which is making plays down the field. And when you get them the ball in their hands, they're able to turn a minimal gain into a big play. So those two guys are very unselfish and feed off each other, and it makes us really tough to defend when you got two guys like that. And then when teams kind of play over the top or try to double them guys, we've had the ability to run the ball. Mitchell Summers, he's off to another really good start this year, and I think he's accounted for 22 touchdowns so far and right around 1,200 yards rushing. And we've got three seniors on the offensive line that have been with us for a while, so they've been playing well too. So offensively, it's been just a collective group effort, and all them guys feed off each other. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think we've been led probably by our front, Ja'Kai Eason, Keenan Hatcher, Jalen Ash, Andre Hill, just to name a few. But we got about 7 or 8 guys that we feel comfortable with playing up front on the defensive line. And then on the back end, I've got some seniors that have played really well: Deion McLaughlin, Jamari Davis, and Fred Sellers in the secondary. And then a newcomer, Christian Barrett, has played really well there too. And then kind of our hybrid guy, Christian Tyson, who kind of plays like that nickel safety spot, and we kind of move him around and do different things with him. He's a very versatile player. He's played well. And then Tyquarius Hayes, a senior, that has kind of been guy to do it all kind of guy for us. Played some defensive end, some linebacker, outside linebacker, but he's put up some really good numbers the last few weeks, but just plays really hard. And so again, on that side of the ball, it's been a lot of people, and I've been really pleased with all of them. They played hard and bought into things that we've asked out of them.
Big time rivalry game tonight against Page. The Pirates and the Whirlies have shared many battles over the years. Let me get a little bit from your perspective here. What has this rivalry meant to your program?
Well, this is my 8th time coaching in it. This is my 8th year here at Grimsley. It's a great week, a great game. It's really good for the schools, both schools, the communities, the alumni. A lot of different events that go on with the game. A fundraiser for both schools with a golf tournament on Friday before the game. So the alumni takes part in that, and community comes out. So the bonfire that both schools do on Thursday night, it's kind of a pep rally deal. That's huge. So there's a lot of great things that just show how I think special these two communities are, these two schools, how special the rivalry is, and how it's going back to about 1960. So there's a lot of great things that just kind of highlight what high school athletics, high school football is all about. And we're fortunate to be a part of it. For us, we're just focused on playing the game, just like we would any other week. And we don't treat the week any different from a football standpoint. So we're focused on taking care of business against a well-coached, good football team. But I just think the rivalry is special, and it's kind of what high school is about. And I'm glad that our students get a chance to participate in it, and look forward to another great, venue this week.
And speaking of the Pirates, tell me a little bit about this year's Pirates team and what are going to be some of the keys to victory tonight.
Well, they've been playing really well the last few weeks, and I think they're really kind of finding their niche and who they are, their identity. Coach Robertson does a good job over there, and I know his kids, they always play hard and play tough, and that's kind of what his teams have always been about. And I think a lot of that, I try to make sure our football teams are the same way. But from an offensive standpoint, they want to attack you downhill with the run game. I think they kind of feed off of their offensive line. They got 5 seniors up front on the offensive line. I've been a part of that program now with Coach Rob for 4 years. So they really understand what they're trying to do from an offensive standpoint and how they want to go about attacking you. Number 4 is a dynamic athlete. They get the ball to him as much as they can. They're snapping it to him now at quarterback, and then they'll put him at receiver and throw it to him as well. And then the Andrews kid at running back, number 5, is a really tough kid and good player as well. So I think they're kind of finding their groove and their niche on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, sound team, fundamentally sound, gap responsible. Again, I think they kind of feed off their guys up front, particularly number 9 and number 55, 2 really good players on the defensive line that cause a lot of chaos for them and do a great job of taking on double teams and, like I said, getting penetration and kind of disrupting things. And then they got athletes on the back end, just like they always do there, but they're very sound. And if you watch film, we very rarely see people getting behind them, which is a part of our offense that we want to stretch the field vertically. So they're doing a lot of good stuff, and they're playing really well right now.
Now, no matter what happens tonight, this will be a pretty special night for the Grimsley program as it's senior night. Tell me a little bit about your seniors and what these guys mean to your program.
Yeah, I mean, it's our last home game. We honored our seniors at the home game before Ragsdale, but this will be their last regular season home game, obviously. And we got 24 seniors. The majority of them have been with us all 4 years and put in a lot of work. I've just like when you come into our program, nothing's given to you. You have to earn everything. And those guys have done that. I mean, they've sacrificed, and they're here off season in the summer and doing the things that we ask out of them. They've been a very unselfish group, and they've been a part of a lot of success, but they've had guys in front of them that have kind of modeled the way of how things should be and how we're going to do things here at Grimsley. And these guys have followed suit and been good leaders for us. So we love nothing more than to send them out, with a win on Friday night. So I'm excited about those guys and the opportunity they have.
And Grimsley is regarded as one of the top programs in the state this year whenever it comes to football. You have the game tonight, you have the game next week before you can go on to the playoffs. How are you keeping your guys focused right now with everything, trying to wrap up the regular season?
Yeah, well, I mean, our guys, they're locked in. They understand. I mean, if we're not focused right now, then the opportunity to win a championship later on down the road is not going to be there. So they understand what we have to do and how important every single day is, not just every Friday night, but every single day that we, go to work on the practice field and what we do in the weight room. And they approach it the right way. Our coaching staff does a good job of keeping them focused. And like I said, we got some good senior leaders that have been a part of some big wins and some tough losses. So they're hungry to kind of, make sure that they finish things the right way as a senior class. But just this team, is hungry. And we got, like I said, good mix of guys that provide a lot of different flexibility for us to do different things with. So they're focused and their mindset's in the right place. And like I said, we're excited for the game against Page and then moving on.
Tonight, big opportunity for the program. The game will be broadcast all over My 48 across the Piedmont Triad. How big of a moment is this for really your program and then Page as well?
Well, I mean, it's always a big game. It's one that's always talked about and known about. So, I mean, it's awesome that the game has got the attention that it gets and that it's going to get on Friday night. So I think it's a great opportunity for both schools to really showcase what they're about. It's 2 great schools, 2 of the best schools, not only in Greensboro, but in the state of North Carolina. As far as, you're talking about football and athletics, but academically and just all around. I mean, both schools provide a lot of areas for students to have success and to grow mentally and physically, and then be able to leave high school and be prepared for college. I think both schools do a great job of that. So, the game itself is just a small part of what both schools are about. And I think it really just kind of showcases, how special both places are.
Last year, Grimsley made it all the way to the 4A state championship game against New Bern. Recently, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association came down on New Bern with some rulings against playing ineligible players, vacated some of the wins last year, including the 4A state championship game, which was against Grimsley, and they also vacated some games from this year as well. What have been your thoughts on this whole process so far?
I don't really think too much of it. I hate it for our kids last season. I hate it for their kids down there that had done right, and that just happened to be caught up in it. So it's just a bad situation for everybody, even the schools that played New Bern in the playoffs. I hate it for those schools and those student athletes as well. But hopefully, it's something that everyone learns from. But really, I've had people ask me about the game, and we don't know if things would have been different or not. We kind of look back on that game and feel like that we left a couple opportunities out there that if we would have converted on, that we would have won the game last December. So we've just really used that game to kind of get our attention and put our focus where it needs to be on this season. So trying to get ourselves back to that point, and we know we got a long ways to go before we get there. But again, it's just terrible situation for all involved, and I hate that it happened.
Now, sometimes coaches and even players will have some superstitions that they take part in before the game. Do you have any superstitions that you participate in, like listening to any music or walking along the field?
No, I mean I'm pretty simple. I mean, I like staying in a routine, so we kind of have our routine as far as how we go about pregame meal and our meetings and dress and all that kind of stuff. I'll spend about 30 minutes in my office before I get over to the field, just kind of collecting my thoughts and making sure I'm going over everything that we're supposed to do or that we want to try to do during the game in all three phases. So I just try to make sure that everything's where it needs to be before I head over. But then after that, it's just kind of really enjoying the moment on each Friday night. The work's been done during the week and leading up to that. So I really try to take it all in and enjoy watching our kids compete and just enjoying being a part of Grimsley High School and this group that we got. So nothing special for me.
Sometimes, whenever you look at football uniforms, you'll see a C on some players' jerseys, and that usually means that they're a captain. And for this sake, we're going to say that the C means comedian. So, who on your team would you say is the best comedian?
Well, the guy that gets me laughing all the time is Big Andre Hill, one of our defensive tackles. So he got a good sense of humor, good personality, and he's always having a good time. Guys joke with him a lot. So he never gets mad. He's always kind of joking back around with them. So he's the guy for me.
Earlier, you mentioned some of the top performers on your team this year. I might be putting you a little bit on the spot with this question, but out of those athletes, who would you say is the best overall athlete on the Whirly's football team?
That's a tough one. I mean, we got several really good athletes that do a lot of different things, not just football players. Alex Taylor has been a big time football, basketball guy. Terrell Anderson is as athletic and as freakish as any kid I've ever coached with some of the things that he can do. Our sophomore quarterback, Faison Brandon, I mean, he's at 6'4" right now, 195 pounds, and is one of the main contributors to the basketball team as well. And all them guys can run and jump and just do a lot of different things. Mitchell Summers with his balance. And we were talking today, it's almost impossible to get that kid on the ground. And he had several runs last week against Southwest where his hand goes down, he keeps himself up, he rolls over a guy's body and never touches the ground. So we got a lot of guys that can do a lot of different stuff. Bryce Davis and a lot of special young men that have been blessed, but they're not taking it for granted and they're working hard to make the most of their ability.
Now, Coach Brown, it's crazy to think that we're already at the midway point of October. Halloween's just right around the corner. So I've got to ask you, Coach, what is your favorite Halloween costume that you've worn of all time?
Ooh. Well, I hadn't wore a Halloween costume in probably 30 some years, to be honest with you. So I'm not a dress up guy at Halloween parties. Usually if there's something like that going on, it's on on a weekend that we're preparing for a game the following week. So I'm not usually doing that kind of stuff that much. When I was younger, I mean, the typical stuff, a cowboy or a baseball or football player, and all that kind of Army guy dressed up like that one year. But it's fun now just watching my kids do it. My son's 10. My daughter now is in high school. So I just enjoy spending that time with him.
And Coach, what is your final message to all the Whirlies fans out there, not only for the game tonight, but as the regular season wraps up here?
Yeah, well, we really need their support coming down the stretch, the last 2 weeks of the regular season and then going into playoffs. And I just don't want our fans to be complacent or to just maybe take things for granted. Like we've had a lot of success, obviously, and it's been earned. But I think it's real easy sometimes when you've had that success to kind of sit back and almost expect it week in and week out. And, our guys do expect to win, but they earn the right to win. And we want our fans to, kind of be the same way, to show up, to be excited about the game on Friday and any Friday night, and be loud, be encouraging, and be supportive of everything that we got going on. And if we can have all of Whirly Nation along with our team pulling in the same direction, then we have a chance for a lot of success moving forward. But it takes all of us, and we really count on them in a big way.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time, Coach Brown. I appreciate it, and good luck tonight and the rest of the way this season.
Thanks, Zach. I appreciate it.
All right, let's go ahead and check in with what's happening over at Page. Joining us now, we have Page head coach, Coach Robertson. Coach, the Pirates right now are off to a 4-4 record at this point in the season. Tell me a little bit about how the Pirates have gotten here so far.
We had a tough start. We were 0-3, played three really good teams in Dudley, Mount Tabor, and Reedsville. And I lost all those three, but found out a lot about our team. We have a young team with a lot of inexperienced players, hadn't played a lot of varsity football, mixed in with some experience, and it just didn't go well early. And then but we do that to get us ready for the conference season. And in the conference season so far, we've been able to, reel off a 4-1 record to date, and our only loss being the Northwest Gilbert, who's got a good football team. So we like the progress that we made. I think we're a team that's improving week by week, and hopefully we'll continue to do that this week.
Tell me a little bit about some of the key playmakers on the Pirates.
Yeah, I think, it starts with our defense. I think our defense is played, better every week. Anthony Peel had a big play last week. Anthony Peel's one of our middle linebackers. DeMonte Brown, those are our two leading tacklers. Alex Jones and Christian Brown kind of head up our defensive front. And then young secondary has really gotten better. Kasai Poindexter's a freshman. Kashmir Jarrett and Davion Barley, in our secondary, and Monty McGee's has played well at outside backers. So I think it starts with them. And then offensively, Maurice Andrews is our tailback. He's, I think, 800 plus yards in these first 7 games, or 8 games now. So he's averaging over 100 yards a game. So he's kind of the centerpiece of what we try to do offensively. And then our offensive line, I think, has done a great job opening up holes for him as our passing game's kind of developed and gotten better during the year. But we're mainly a running football team and kind of built around Maurice.
Big time matchup this week between Page and Grimsley. Both teams have shared many battles over the years. Tell me a little bit about what this rivalry means to your program.
I think it's, big all for the communities, that we serve, both Grimsley and Page. And I think if you don't recognize how big that is, that you're not really giving it its credit where the credit's due. The problem here lately is it's hard for both teams to get good at the same time. They're really good right now and number 1 in the state, and we're trying to get there. And then there was a time where Page it was the other way around, and that's it'd be nice for us both to be at the top tiers of the state, and we're certainly trying to get to that point. And it's going to be a good measuring stick for us. But I think the rivalry is a great thing. It's great for the fans. It's great for the students. To be honest, for football, it's just, I hate to say it like this, but it's another game that we have to play, and we're preparing for them just like we would last week against Northern Guilford. So for football coaches, it's a little different than it is maybe a fan or maybe a student.
Tell me a little bit about the Whirlies team this season and some of the keys to the game tonight.
They're very explosive on offense. They're, you have Alex Taylor and the Anderson kid at receiver, so they're 2 Division I receivers. and then you have a Division I Alfred quarterback and the Faison kid, and then you got a running back who's arguably the best football player on their team is Summers. He's got over 1,100 yards rushing, so we got to do a good job to contain him. And then they have other guys too. They're not the only ones, and he runs behind a really experienced and good offensive line. I think is overlooked. And then defensively, they kind of do it by committee. They don't necessarily have maybe the prospects that they do on offense, but they're very solid and well coached, and they hustle to the ball and are certainly a formidable opponent there, as they haven't given up a lot of points either, along with scoring a lot of points. So they offer a tough challenge. They have a good kicking game. Their kicker is very solid. So they make you play all three phases, and we're certainly going to have to be good in all those to have a chance tonight.
So tonight the game will be broadcast all over the Piedmont Tryout on My 48. How big of an opportunity is this for your program?
It's great. We appreciate the exposure for the schools and not just for the schools, but for high school athletics. I think it's great that ABC 45 is willing to do that for local schools here. And I think they're watched by probably more than you maybe think. I think people watch these games, and it certainly puts our schools on a positive light, as you hear a lot of negative things out here that's going on, but there are a lot of positive things and a lot more positive things going on than there are negative. And so we do appreciate the exposure, and it's great for our kids and great for our schools.
Sometimes coaches and even players will have some pregame superstitions. Do you have any superstitions?
I'm not extremely superstitious, but I don't mess with them, if that makes sense. So, if my wife's big on, if we have the same meal, if we win that week, we got to have the same meals the next week. And I say, okay, whatever, I'll eat whatever you got. But if that's something that she thinks it is, so I really just go along with everybody else, and I think kids probably have stuff they wear and, how they wear it and all that kind of stuff. I never was big on that. I still think after the first snap, all that stuff kind of goes awry. It becomes a one-on-one battle that you got to win. So I guess I'm not the most superstitious in the world.
And speaking of food there, what can the Pirates expect for the pregame meal tonight?
That's a good question. Since it's on the road, we get out of school so late. It's usually more of a sandwich type meal, so more of a subs type stuff. So last week we had a nice meal. We had a taco bar, so because we were home and we had a little more time. So my perfect pregame meal, if you're asking me that, I want a steak, baked potato. I think that's great, but we don't always have the time or the resources necessarily to do that all the time.
Well, hey, I'm right there with you. I always love a good steak and some potatoes and some other sides as well there.
Yeah.
So going off of that, sometimes different teams have different things as far as what's on their jersey and whatnot. And sometimes they'll have like a C, for example, for captains. And this question, we're going to say the C stands for comedian. So which player on your team would you say is the best comedian?
That's a good question. Probably Jarrell Wilson, or comes to mind. He's our defensive end / H-back. He always seems to have. He always kind of. Some guys when you go up to them, they kind of look funny and they're getting ready. They almost have a smile on their face, and something's up. So I would say Jarrell Wilson, number 34 for us, is kind of our comedian, and kind of keeps things light when things are maybe not as light.
Now, I don't want to put you on the spot here with this question, but who would you say is the best overall athlete on Page's football team?
Athletically, it may very well be the same guy, Jarrell Wilson. I'm saying pound for pound, he is as athletic as anybody we have on our team. His size and his speed and his athletic ability equals his athletic ability. His jumping, all that kind of stuff. Monty Pegues would be another one I would mention as a really good athlete. Those two come to mind right offhand.
Does Page have any team slogan or any other words of inspiration?
Yeah, I came here 4 years ago, and we kind of had a philosophy of the standard, and we've now in year 4 Page football, we call it the standard, and we started out talking about changing the standard, and then we started talking about the new standard, and now it is just the standard. So Page football on the back of our warm-up compression shirts, you'll see Page football, the standard. So we would like to think the things we do in our program should be the standard for high school football teams anywhere around the state, that they want to be like Page and do the things that Page does, which means doing things the right way and playing hard all the time, and being a good person, not just a good player, and being somebody that maybe when you leave here can make a difference in whatever community you go to. So I think it's a lot encompassed in that two words, the standard. It's not just winning football games. It's really about life and teaching these kids that football teaches life lessons, and it can carry you a long way if you let football do it. And I just think football is a great kind of avenue for that for these kids. It was for me.
Yeah. As a coach, is it kind of challenging this time in the football season, knowing that you have the game tonight, game next week before the playoffs, when people already maybe might start be looking ahead to the playoffs?
I would say, and I call this, and a lot of coaches, Scott, we're in the grind right now. We consider this the grind part of our season. So you've kind of fell in the beginning of the season's over. The newness of it's over. Now you're 75% into your conference schedule or more. Who really loves it? As a coach, as a player, as a fan. I mean, are you excited about this one as you were the first one? I talk about it all the time. We have to make this game like it's our first game of the year and the excitement that you had. And because we only get a few minutes, you break down a football game, every play is 5 seconds. You only have this number of plays. It's not that many minutes you really get to play the game. And you spend all this time preparing. So we can't waste an opportunity to play those few minutes of football by not being excited to get an opportunity to play.
It's hard to even think that the football season, or at least the regular season, is starting to wind down, and we're already kind of at the midway point of October, but Halloween's coming up pretty soon. So I've got to ask you, Coach, what is your favorite Halloween costume that you've worn of all time?
Oh, I would have to probably say my Washington Redskin, at that time, the Redskins football jersey and uniform and helmet. I got that. So I was always a big football fan, and growing up, I was a big Joe Gibbs fan. Joe Gibbs and the Hogs, and which was the offensive line, and the Smurfs, who were their receivers, and man, they had a good defense, and they were winning Super Bowls. Obviously, nobody that's lived, nobody that's been born here in the last 30 years even know that. But the Redskins at that time were good, and I grew up, and I'm still a Commanders fan now. Obviously, I'm pretty loyal because they've had some rough years, but I would have to say that sticks out as my favorite costume going around being a football player, oddly enough, and ironically, I guess.
Yeah. And Coach, what is your final message to all the Pirates fans out there as the season does start to wind down and you make that final playoff push?
Yeah, I think, come out, watch us if you haven't, and keep supporting our guys if you have, because they're really working hard. And I think we put ourselves in a position, obviously, in this game to play for a portion of the conference championship. You're only losing one game, and they're a no-loss team, so we could force a three-way tie at the time, and then obviously we'd have to win next week also. But we put ourselves in a position in week 10 and game 9 of our football schedule to win a conference championship. And I'm going to tell that, I've told that to our team all week, and they're going to understand that not many teams in the state have this opportunity this late in the year. So make sure you take advantage of it and give everything you got. And that's what you're going to see when you come out and watch our team the last 2 weeks and into the playoffs.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time, Coach Robertson. I appreciate it, and good luck tonight and the rest of the way of the season.
Thank you, and thank you guys from ABC 45 for everything you're doing.
For more Inside the Headset segments, subscribe to the ABC 45 YouTube channel.